I can blame him for the fact that I never hooked up with Shania Twain.
Welcome to another episode of Chewing the Fat. I am your host, Big Rob. Thank you so much for tuning in, downloading the podcast. I certainly do appreciate that. Thanks for the folks that have bought me a coffee at chewingthefatbr.com. That little cup of coffee really helps the show to keep going, and I appreciate that. And the new friends that have followed along as well over at Chewing the Fat BR on Instagram. Thank you so much for your support. Of course, the show wouldn't be anything without my guests, and I'm so glad to reconnect with a longtime friend from back in the old radio days. Please welcome Dakota West.
How are you, sir?
Hey, man.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Oh, my goodness.
I think the last time I saw you, we were working an event back when I was with Fox down at the Imperial.
Was it that long ago?
I think so. It's been probably about 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah. Thank goodness for Facebook. Huh?
Yeah, I know, right? Or else we wouldn't know where anybody is or what's going on.
Exactly.
Dakota and I met back in the 90s. Late 90s, early 2000s, I guess, at Y105.
Oh, yeah. That was fun times.
Yeah, I was overnight, and you and Mackenzie held down the morning shift. So, so we always kind of were in passing there at the station. But gosh, some good times, man.
I know. It was such a blast. Yeah, I was thankful, to get the job in Augusta at the time, because before then I was down in Brunswick and had moved there where my current wife, where she was living to be closer to her. Well. And I really did not like Brunswick. And it's funny, you brought up, I've listened to a couple of the other podcasts, Joe Mama.
Yeah.
Yeah, I worked with him down there in Brunswick too.
Small world. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Radio, it is such a small little pond of weirdos, and it's a great to be part of it. But,
it is.
Yeah, it's so cool. So Dakota, all right. So you say you moved to Augusta and you were down in Brunswick. So where are you from originally?
North Alabama.
Okay.
So I was raised in a little town, little community called Colbert Heights, and it's a little high peak over in the northwest corner, about 45 minutes from Tennessee, 45 minutes from Mississippi, in that area. Okay. But it's part of Tuscumbia. Okay. You ever heard of it?
Yeah. I mean, I lived in Birmingham for like 4 years, so I know I'm familiar with life.
And then you got Muscle Shoals right there beside it. Yeah. So, but I went to school at a little school called Colbert Heights, and 11th grade was whenever I got into radio.
Wow.
Something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I mean, how did that in the 11th grade? I mean, you're junior, you're getting ready to.
Okay. So originally, let's go back even further.
Okay.
All right. So 3rd grade, 4th grade, something like that. I ended up having a learning disability.
Okay.
So had problems reading, writing, and things like that. And I had hearing issues.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I ended up having to go through special education classes all through school, all the way to graduation. So, and somewhere in there, I was told, because I enjoyed music, I was told that I couldn't do anything like this.
Oh, wow.
And somebody who was speaking in a class, and I brought up, radio seems cool. And they were like, oh, you can't do that.
Oh, wow.
So that sort of became a motivation.
That kind of, it's like it kind of pissed you off, and now you're going to just show them that you can do it.
Yeah, and I'm sort of mad that they did that, because there's no telling where I could have been.
You could have went somewhere else and a rocket scientist or something like that.
But so that happened, and I ended up, it was probably 9th, 10th grade, somewhere in that neighborhood. I always in doing radio contest. And they did this thing called the 6-pack on one of the local radio stations, and they would play 6 songs in a row. The first person that could call in and name the artist and the title of all 6 songs would win whatever prize. So I was doing this all the time.
Yeah.
And then there was one week where I actually won every single day.
Oh, wow.
And I used a different name.
I was about to say they had to change the rules because of you.
Yeah. All my family members had prizes.
That's awesome.
I was using all their names. So I went into the radio station, and that guy, who I can't remember his name, but he was an afternoon guy. He happened to be coming down the hallway whenever I was picking up stuff, and he stopped and he goes, hold on, you're the same guy that won the entire week, aren't you? And I was like, guilty.
Yeah.
And he goes, have you ever thought about getting in radio? And I was like, So that's where the whole bug of getting radio came into.
That's
and
wild.
then whenever the person said that I couldn't do it, it motivated me to do it. So I ended up getting a job at a little radio station in Russellville, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
I was running like, I don't know, Rick D's or something like that, Sunday night, top 40 countdown, doing that. And then they gave me 2 hours from 10 to midnight to be DJ.
Yeah.
You know, and for the first probably 3-4 months, it was no talk. You know,
you were just,
I was too nervous.
Yeah.
You know? And I finally, eventually they said, hey, if you want to, read the little cards, you can. Oh, it was terrible. It was so terrible. And so I did that for a few months. And then eventually I got a part-time gig at another radio station there in town. And then that one eventually turned into a full-time radio station gig, doing nights on a top 40 station.
Well, I guess you got better at talking then. If you're doing nights on the top 40.
Yeah, a little bit. I ended up getting trained by the guy that, I don't know if he's still doing this, but at one time he was the voice of the NBA.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was from that station, and he's like 2 years younger than me.
Wow.
And he was like, I think in 10th, 11th grade, doing a show.
Yeah.
He would get out of school and come do an afternoon drive type thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he had a voice like you would not believe.
That's awesome.
But I know he's still doing voice work, but I'm not sure if he's doing NBA still or not. But so he trained me. So, and here he is 2 years younger than me. And I'm like, what, 17, 18, somewhere in that neighborhood?
Yeah.
And he trained me. So did that in North Alabama, ended up in Huntsville for a little while. Oh, but I got to go back to my claim to fame, which was working at a country station there in Florence, Alabama, that was owned by Sam Phillips.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and Sam would come in and tell Elvis stories. If you don't know who Sam Phillips is, Sam Phillips is basically the father of rock and roll, if you will. Yeah. So, because he owns Sun Studios, helped find Elvis, Johnny Cash, Roy Orbison. Who else? My goodness.
Yeah, so many others.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. That's awesome though.
Yeah.
That's kind of like down here with James Brown owning the radio station. And I've heard stories of jocks that, they'd be in the middle of the shift and James would walk in and Mr. Brown would be like, yeah, I want to get on. I want to play my record. And it's like, you're not going to say no. You're not going to say no. I'm not going to play your record, Mr. Brown. So it's like, that's so cool.
No, yeah, and that's the thing about it being in Muscle Shoals, Alabama.
Yeah,
have you seen the documentary Muscle Shoals?
Yes.
I watched that years ago whenever it first came out, and I was like, I know him, and I had no idea who I was around.
Yeah.
Because I'm in my early 20s, late
he's
teens.
a dumb kid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm sitting at one of the radio stations. I can't even remember what I was doing there, either afternoons, nights, whatever. But one of the guys that works there, one of the older guys, he came up to me and goes, hey, you want to meet a swamper? And I was like, all right.
What's a swamper?
Exactly. And if you don't know what a swamper is, they're studio musicians from Muscle Shoals, Sweet Home, Alabama. Leonard Skinner makes mention of them.
Yeah.
And so we ended up at one of the restaurant/bars there next to the radio station, hanging out with this guy, and just, telling stories and me just listening.
That's so cool.
And it's amazing because, like I said, now I look back and it's like, I had no idea what I was around.
Yeah.
It was insane.
And that's the cool, I always thought that was the cool thing about radio. It's like, you're able to be a part of these opportunities that other people would never have a chance to be a part of.
Right.
And also they will never believe that you are a part of them.
Right.
You know what I mean? That you were like, yeah, I was just having dinner with one of the swampers and, blah, blah, blah. And it was just, and you're like, what? How would you know what I mean? You're like, you're just a radio guy. It's like, well, that's kind of some of the doors that radio used to open for you. It's sad to see the state of radio nowadays where, you talk about doing a 2-hour shift, they don't have, they barely have live jocks.
Right.
At all.
Right.
And there's no overnight proving ground anymore. That used to be where everybody cut their teeth.
That was a security guard.
Yeah.
It's like you made sure nobody broke in.
You made sure nobody broke in. You also had to take meter readings every 2 hours. And you got to play on the radio for a little bit.
Right.
And that's how so many people came along and cut their teeth on radio and perfected their craft. And that opportunity is not really there anymore in that type of sense. I mean, you know,
Right.
there's a lot of people out there that will, you know, do a podcast or something like that,
Mhm.
you know, other audio type of things, but there's just not that radio and that the shared trauma that you had working with these people.
It was a great experience because, like I said, you know, Sam walks in.
Mhm.
I'm on nights at a
Mhm.
country station at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He walks in with his bottle of Jack and his glass,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just sitting there pouring,
Mm-hmm.
drinking, telling Elvis stories
Right.
while I'm trying to do a shift.
Right.
Okay. So it's like, Sam, can you hold that thought 1 minute?
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah,
Right,
blah,
right.
blah.
I got a liner to read. I
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then go back to hearing the Elvis stories.
Yeah.
It was insane.
That is so cool.
Yeah. You know, so did that for many years, ended up at, in Huntsville, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
The lady that I worked with in Muscle Shoals, she was the one that brought me into Huntsville. I did swing shift at ZYP
Mm-hmm.
there in Huntsville, and which meant basically I worked every shift if somebody called in sick.
Yeah. You were the fill-in
Yeah.
for sure.
So, and worked in TV a little bit up there as well. Let's see. After that, I think I went back to Muscle Shoals for a little bit, and then I ended up in Myrtle Beach.
Mm.
Yeah. So worked at Gator in Myrtle for a little while.
Okay.
And had a morning show there and did afternoons as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a blast in Myrtle.
Yeah.
Myrtle was such a fun town.
Yeah.
So, but where are you out?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because we had, I think there was 5 radio stations under the group,
Mm-hmm.
and it was every format.
Mm-hmm.
So you had tickets to every show that you ever wanted to go see.
Right.
And Myrtle Beach got the shows.
Got the shows. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was constant. You just
Mhm.
going because you didn't want to miss them.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
And then also it's show prep. Quote
Right.
unquote show prep. You know, that way you can talk about, hey, I was at the show last night and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Whatever. Yeah.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
something else. It just kept you busy. So, and I was there, and I was there for a few years. And
Was
then
that your first morning show gig?
yes,
All right.
Yeah.
It was morning shows. Was that kind of always the goal once you got
No,
into
not really.
radio?
Not really.
Really?
no, I just enjoyed doing whatever shift.
Whatever. Yeah.
I liked. I was a music director as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to do.
Mm.
So I wanted to be a music director, programmer, something like
Right.
that. So
Pick the song.
yeah, and
Pick the hits.
the mornings were fun,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I really enjoyed it, and it did grow on me a lot, you know, especially coming to Y105,
Mhm.
you know, because we had such a blast
Yeah.
there. But Myrtle, the big thing about the Myrtle trip was I ended up meeting my wife Cindy.
Mm.
She was on vacation there. We met at Crocodile Rocks, so the little piano bar
Mm-hmm.
there in town.
Mm-hmm.
So she was on vacation with one of her friends. I was just hanging out with one of my buddies there that worked there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we ended up talking. I won't go into the full story of that because she will, you know, probably get mad at me. But either way, so we ended up meeting. But the funny part was I was talking to her friend.
Oh.
And and she goes, "What do you do?" And I said, "Well, I work over here at this radio station and everything." And she goes, "Really?" She goes, "Cindy, he works for the same group that you work for." She was in sales down in Brunswick.
Huh.
Yeah. So it's small world
Yeah.
once again.
Wow.
So we met and just kept in contact and ended up doing a long distance relationship and eventually came to a term of if we're going to continue this, you know, somebody's got to move.
Got to be in the same city.
Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I'll get transferred. So I transferred down to Brunswick, did afternoons down there for a little while. Like I said, didn't really enjoy it.
Mm.
So, and that was always one of my things about radio
Right.
was if I ever got to a point where I couldn't pay my bills or I didn't enjoy it,
Mm-hmm.
I was, you know, it's time to get out,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, time to move on. Because I came to that conclusion whenever, you know, I don't know if you ever had this conversation with anyone older in your life, but you know, when are you going to get a real job?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah. What's your backup plan?
Yeah.
It's like, well,
yeah,
wasn't
not
really a
one.
backup
Yeah.
plan. Sorry.
Yeah, I ended up, I had that conversation with my dad whenever I was like in 11th, 12th grade, something like that. Because he was like, you know, this is not something you can do, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you know, you can. And I made the comment to him, and I think it sort of shocked him of, Dad, I don't want to be like you.
Mm.
I don't want to hate getting up and going to work.
Mm. Mm.
And, you know, and I assumed that my dad really didn't like his job. I had no idea.
Right.
But whenever I made that comment, he just looked at me and said, okay. And that was it. He never questioned me ever again. So whenever it came to my career choice, and I thought that was very cool of him. So but years down the road, did end up getting where I brought him. I don't know if you ever been to CRS Country Radio Seminar in Nashville. But I did get my dad like one of the front row tables. It was Montgomery Gentry was on the New Faces show, and he got to meet them and hang out in their bus. And that's whenever he was like, "You do have a pretty cool job."
Okay, I get it. Yeah.
But yeah, back to Brunswick. Whenever I was down there, I didn't really enjoy it. Now the town's a lot different, and I think I would really enjoy being down there.
Was that what it was?
Yeah,
was it the town itself?
Yeah, just kind of. Yeah, I didn't like the vibe. Okay, just coming from Myrtle Beach.
Well, you're where something's always going, and then you kind of move to this drowsy little town,
right? And they had things, but nothing on the level of Myrtle, right. And I seemed to get bored. And so she and I talked about it, and she was like, "Okay, yeah, just start putting the feelers out there and see what happens." And then next thing you know, I get a call from Augusta, Georgia, and I'm like, I think I drive through that whenever I'm going from Myrtle Beach to Muscle Shoals to see family. I think I drive through that town. And then it was like, oh, yeah, it's that exit right after you cross South Carolina into Georgia.
Right.
Because at the time, that's all I knew was Washington Road.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's where you probably filled up with gas and then you got back on the highway.
That is it. Yeah. That is it. And so I ended up getting the job up here. It was somewhere around 2000, beginning of 2000. Yeah. Something like that. And, working with McKinsey, and we had a blast. Yeah. So did that for about 2 years here. And then had the dream chance of going to program and start a radio station in South Alabama. Went and did that. That crashed and burned pretty quick. You know how it is. Just, hey, by the way, we're going to change the format today. We don't need you anymore.
Right. We know you've upheaved your whole family and moved them, 400 miles away, but
we've changed our mind.
Yeah, we've changed our mind. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So ended up in South Atlanta after that. And but whenever we were down in South Georgia or South Alabama, when we were down there, Cindy and I both looked at each other and said, we should have never left Augusta because we made such good friends here. Yeah. Love the town. Yeah. It's a good, happy medium.
Yeah. 2 hours from everywhere.
Yeah. It's my thought was it's right in between Myrtle and Brunswick.
Yeah.
If you want to find things to do, they're here. Yeah. If you want to stay hid, you can. It's your choice. Yeah. And that's the way I looked at this town. And so we ended up, like I said, in South Atlanta for a little while. And then I ended up over at working at Beasley. With T and Chris and all of them. I was at, I think the station was called Big Dog. Okay. So it was a classic country.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I did middays for a little while.
Okay.
They were nice enough to get me back here, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And then that station went out. Yeah. So, and then they were nice enough to keep me on board, though. And I became a Steve York's assistant.
Okay. In the news.
Yeah. So production.
Oh,
yeah, production. Yep. So until he passed away. Yeah. And then I started doing production over there. And then after that, it just got to where, it wasn't on air.
Yeah.
And it was just commercials, and I just
the fun part of radio wasn't in it anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't really enjoy, that part of it anymore. And then a buddy of mine, Jonathan, was getting ready to, him and some other partners were getting ready to open up the Country Club Dance Hall and Saloon.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And he called me up and said, "Hey, would you be, interested in being a part of this?" I was like, "Yeah, what you want me to do?" He goes, "Well, you know a lot of country people."
You want to be our booker?
Basically.
Yeah.
So I came in working with Chris Cato. He was general manager. And I was, handling all the entertainment, all that fun stuff. And did that. That was a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah, doing all those shows. That put a bug in me. Yeah. Really bad.
I was about to ask, is that kind of what lit the fire into what you're doing now?
Right.
With West Talent Group.
Yeah. So, I did, I was at Country Club for 5 years, 6 years, something like that. Then got out of it a little bit, went over to Coyotes, worked with Charlie Sconyers and them, and was doing that. Had a good time there, and then got out of it totally for about 7 years.
Yeah.
And then West Talent Group came about whenever a buddy of mine that I worked with at all those clubs, Derek Dove, he called me up. It was December 2019. He calls me up and says, "Hey, I would like to get somebody to represent me, and help with booking and stuff like that." And I was like, "Oh, okay." He goes, I trust you. Would you be interested in it?" And I was like, let me have a conversation with my wife.
Right.
Because at that time, I'm working in the internet cell phone business and things like that. So totally out of the loop.
Yeah.
Totally. Been out of the loop for probably 7 years. Something like that, 8 years. And so I talked to her and she just looked at me and she goes, "I knew eventually you were going to come to me with something like this." She said, I knew that you couldn't last, So she gave the blessing of starting West Talent Group. So we started that to represent Derek Dove and the Peacekeepers. And we got that going. I think the company officially started February 21st, 2020.
Oh, wow.
I think that was the official first day of the company.
Wow.
And this is a booking agency who books bands to do shows.
In person.
Exactly.
In the public.
Exactly.
1 month before the world is about to shut down.
Yep. So, and things were rolling. Yeah. We had the good things going. And then it's like, no.
Wow.
So, luckily I still had my other job, so I was still doing it as well. And so we just made it through, and trying to figure out ways of, getting income for Derek and keeping the music out there and making sure that people still knew what was going on. That was a challenge. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Just, trying to make sure, the live streams and all of that. I'm sure you know a lot about all that.
Oh, yeah.
That was quite interesting. It really was. So, but with West Talent, we ended up, having that going. And what was it like? Probably 2 years after that, whenever they finally really started letting everybody go back to normal, somewhere in there. So the ball started rolling, and Derek started getting a lot more bookings. Ended up picking up another band called A Few Miles South. By the way, Derek Dove and the Peacekeepers is more of a blues Southern rock type band. And then you've got A Few Miles South, who I ended up starting to work with a couple of years into the company. They're more of a roots Americana country type back.
Yeah.
They're all both of them are out of South Georgia. And then now I've also got a couple other acts, Lloyd Carter, country and very soulful country. Oh my goodness, soulful. And then I got a tribute act called Swamp Music.
Okay.
It's a Skinnerd tribute that I work with. But yeah, that's what we ended up doing with West Talent and getting all of that going and started doing the idea of starting West Talent was to be a booking agency and also do a few concerts on the side because, like I said, at the country club and Coyotes and doing all those shows, I really enjoyed doing it.
Yeah.
So came up with the idea of a retro concert series at that point. And we started doing, this is our third year doing concerts with it. But bringing a band called Hereby, I don't know if you've seen that show yet. You got to come to it. It's very cool. And do a few other ones. It's like, I know we've got our next show is coming up on June 8th, which is Slippery When Wet, which is a Bon Jovi tribute with the Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
Which is a Beastie Boys tribute.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that's all going to be at the Columbia County Pack, but also going to got some shows coming up at the Miller as well.
That's so cool.
But yeah, doing that, it's been a blast. But I really enjoy doing the shows because seeing people happy is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
And just seeing them smile and just knowing that you had something to do with that smile. Is just it gives me chills every time.
Yeah.
I
mean, that's kind of like back when we would do, especially with the morning show, when we do, station contests. Not the remote at the car dealer where the salespeople wanted to eat all your pizza and take all your T-shirts. I'm talking about like where we would do like the big things. We would do the big giveaways or do the show out live on a Friday, out on the side of the road, and where people would come and they just wanted to be a part of it.
Right.
They just, you know what I mean? They were happy to be there. It was something fun starting their either, I mean, it was, it could be their work day or whatever, or maybe they're coming off of a shift and they'd still stop by, and just for that moment to be a part of, hey,
oh yeah,
I listen to y'all all the time. You remember when you did blah, 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 and that was so funny. And,
Well, I don't know if you remember, but Cinco de Mayo.
Yes. I remember the Cinco de Mayo.
Mackenzie sends me a picture of a mayonnaise jar in a sink every Cinco de Mayo. Every year I get that picture.
That's hilarious.
It's great. It's wonderful. I remember we did the mountain oysters contest.
Yeah.
Do you recall that one?
Yeah.
Mountain oysters. Did you taste them?
Nope, I did not. I saw the guy prep them though.
Oh, I know.
Oh, that was probably worse.
Oh, it was great. And it's so funny. But the one thing I remember, you and Dale, and I still got a copy of this somewhere in my attic. I know I do. I'm gonna beat Tiger.
Oh yeah.
So that was the greatest parody ever. And what was that? The 2001 Masters?
Something like that. Yeah. We did that. And then one year, where the year Martha Burke was big, and Dale and I dressed in drag and was down across from the entryway of the, Magnolia Lane and stuff like that. Yeah. It was, that's what I'm saying. That's some crazy stuff.
Still got pictures of Dale stripping.
Yeah. With the chocolate sauce. I'm gonna just say this for anyone that might be thinking of doing an exotic dance with chocolate sauce.
That was so funny.
It sounds neat, but once you spread it to a certain point, it does not look like chocolate sauce anymore. It kind of takes on this kind of dookie look.
So you were a part of that in some way, right?
Yeah, I was driving the because Dale was kind of part of y'all's show.
But
he was Danger Boy.
But it seems like there was some kind of contest for that. I can't remember exactly.
Oh yeah. There was some sort of contest that somebody was going to win. Because that was like back in the days, like Mulligans or whatever.
Right,
and we were always out there on a remote.
That's it.
And I think somebody won because it was like a bachelorette party or something like that, and somehow Dale was the prize to get the.
It was I still have those pictures somewhere. I can't. Yeah. They may be on my Facebook page. I'm not sure.
But that's what I'm saying. That was just some of the fun. That was some of the fun, funny stuff we used to do.
Oh my goodness!
It
was such a blast.
And then having people, you're talking about having access to people that would call in and interview. You talk to them on the phone, or people would actually stop by.
Right.
Augusta was never a great place for shows.
Right.
It's got so much better now.
Oh yeah. 100%.
So much better now. It was never a great place for shows back in the early 2000s, but people would come through.
Yeah.
They would drive through from Atlanta to Columbia, and sometimes we could be like, "Hey, you're going to be by this. You're going to be at Washington Road.
Yeah, just swing by.
Just swing by.
Yeah.
Just swing by. Just come in for an interview or something."
Probably the biggest interview that I remember of an act that is, as far as I know, they're still going. And that was Coldplay.
Yeah.
We did an interview with them. And then the only time I've ever been starstruck was for my birthday. Mackenzie set up an interview with my favorite comedian at the time. And I had no idea that it was going on. And we're just in there going on, doing our thing. And she was like, "Oh, we got an important call here. Oh, somebody's going on," and I pick it up, and it's Christopher Titus. And he had that show on Fox at the time. It was a sitcom. Funny as could be. I cannot remember the name of it though.
Yeah.
But that was probably the only time I've ever been starstruck. Because I wasn't expecting.
Right, it was a combination of surprise and somebody that you really admired at the time.
And I couldn't really talk. She had to do most of the interview. Because I couldn't really think of things to ask. And
because you're kind of like a little girl, like, "Hey,"
exactly.
just kind of twirling your foot in the ground. Hey,
I've met a lot of people through my career, and that it's very cool. A lot of country people, George Strait, Toby Keith, all of them. And none of them, it's like, "Hey, how you doing?"
Yeah.
Because I've always looked at it as, and it's true, it's just their job.
Yeah.
It's what they do. It's how they get their paycheck. Just the way that they support their family. They just happen to have a cool job.
Right.
And it's just same thing for actors or whatever. It's a cool thing. So that's why it's never really hit me, of, oh my goodness, I'm talking to so-and-so.
Well, and it's weird because the flip side of that is like, you had a cool job too. I had a cool job. And when we would go out to, remotes and stuff and people would be like, oh my gosh, it's like, you're on the radio. It's like, and of course you're like, okay, yeah, I'm on the radio. It's no big deal. Just believe me, it's not for the money. Ain't
the truth. Ain't the truth.
But yeah, but because you're there, you're daily, you're their drive to work every morning. You're part of their lives, even though they're not a part of yours.
I wish I could, remember all of the experiences because there's so many.
Yeah,
there's so many. One of them in Myrtle Beach, they opened up the NASCAR cafe and go-kart track. I don't know if you ever went to that.
Yeah.
But I was there during the grand opening of that. And they had, at the time, they had the little short track there in Myrtle Beach for bush races.
Yeah.
And so all the drivers were in town. So they came there. Wow. We had a huge day. And I remember I got to race those guys in go-karts. And I spun out Dale Jarrett, and he won the cup that year.
Yeah.
And so that's my
bragging right. Exactly. Like, he may have won the cup. I spun him out.
Exactly. And I got a picture of somebody. I don't know how they got this picture, but it's him right in front of me, and I'm right behind him.
That's too cool.
Yeah, and it's one of those cool experiences because, like, yes, the pay not that great, but these are experiences that you really couldn't pay for.
Exactly.
All the backstage passes, going and hanging out. Oh, speaking of backstage, this one just dawned on me. Scrap, if he happens to listen to this, he's down in South Florida now. But at the time, he was my operations manager in Myrtle. All right. So we, Shania Twain is huge at the time.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she's doing I think it's her first big world tour.
Yeah, because she just kind of crossed over. She was going more into the pop side from country.
Yeah. So this is a every man of mine type time and all that stuff. So she's doing a show in Charleston. So we do a contest in the limo. All of us going from Myrtle down to Charleston. Limo's full. So a lot of Crown. A lot of Crown being drank in that limo on the way to the show.
Right.
All right. So we get there backstage, going to meet her. They got us all in this little room. And it's very cool. It wasn't like a cattle call type meet and greet, where they put you in a line.
You just go down the line.
Yeah. It was, she was walking around the room.
Oh, wow.
And she came up to me and, I thought I had a chance. We made eye contact, conversations going great.
Yeah.
And I'm like, at the time I was a good looking guy, come on. I think I had a shot.
Right.
I think I was better looking than Mutt Lang. I can tell you that much.
Well, yeah.
So I think I got a shot at least here, and then Scrap comes walking up, throws his arm around me, touches her arm, and says, "How you doing, Mariah?"
Oh,
the conversation was over so fast.
Oh, wow.
That was the greatest thing. At the time, I was like, what did you just do?
You just talk about a cock block. Oh, my gosh.
I didn't have a chance in hell with that.
But still, he killed the dream. He killed the dream.
But the good part is I can blame him.
Right.
For the fact
that's what I'm saying.
That I never hooked up with Shania Twain. It wasn't my fault. It's not that she turned me down. She never turned me down.
Yeah.
But it was his fault.
Absolutely.
What's up, Mariah?
Oh my gosh.
That was so much fun. Those shows, everything about it. It's just a blast. Yeah. And I'm very thankful and grateful, for those opportunities and with what I've got going on now. Because I got to do the plugs here, with Derek Dove and the Peacekeepers. They released their second album back in October, and whenever we dropped that album, they dropped all the songs off of it. Had a couple of singles before. They did okay on the blues charts, and then there's a song on it. It's called When Did I Get Old? Okay. And it's the last cut, if I'm not mistaken. It's the last or next to last cut on the album. We all knew it was good, but didn't know it was that good.
Oh, wow.
Since that song's been released, it's been in the top 5 just about every day on iTunes blues charts.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it is a very powerful song. So, and anybody, I would, over the age of 40, you're going to, and he's in his late 30s. So, and how he came up with the song, I really don't know.
Old soul.
I guess, he's got 3 kids. I guess that's what
that'll age you.
Yeah. So, but everybody before the album was released, I played it for a few people and they were like, wow. And I was like, yeah, it's good, but I didn't, like I said, nobody thought it was that good.
That's awesome.
And, but now it's hanging out in the top 5 on the blues charts on iTunes. It's had over 3 million views on YouTube.
Wow.
Combined views. We just did the numbers the other day on TikTok. There's 10,000 plus videos with this song in it.
Oh,
and over
awesome.
3 million views of those.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So, and it's all, just natural.
Yeah.
It just took shape. And, and now we're, doing a little bit more with it and hopefully it'll keep growing.
Yeah.
But check it out. The album is called Rough Time. And the single is When Did I Get Old? And then working with A Few Miles South, they had a lot of traction on a song called Winter Warm on the bluegrass side back in December. So it was a sort of a holiday song. Okay. They got a new album coming out later on this year. They're going to be playing at the Myrtle Beach Country Festival coming up in June. They're going to be playing there. So, if, go check them out, doing different shows around the nation.
Right.
And then Lloyd's got a lot of things going on. He just released a song called Beer Pressure.
Beer Pressure.
It's very funny.
Okay.
The twist on it is great.
Okay.
So definitely look that up. You can find that wherever you're streaming. So make sure you check out all those artists.
Yeah, and I'll make sure I put those links in the show notes as well.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So with all this that you got going on, I know it's not the only thing that you're into. What's bringing you joy right now?
Oh my goodness. I think everybody that comes on the show that has kids says they're kids, and it's true.
Yeah.
It's just whenever you have a good relationship with your kids, it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
I've got one son who lives here in the Augusta area, and he's got a son who's 5, grandson, Turtle. And it's just hanging out with him will wear you out. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And then my youngest son is in Savannah. So he and his wife, they are expecting.
Oh, congratulations.
So I can officially say that because they just put it on Facebook.
It's Facebook official. That's right. Good.
So that's some excitement for later on this year.
That's so cool.
And but they bring me a lot of joy when we get to hang out.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember somebody that you had on the show I listened to. They talked about that there's nothing like being able to hang out with your kids when they become adults.
Yeah.
And being able to have that conversation with them and just, I drink Jack, okay, just straight up Jack Daniels. And and usually whenever I collect Jack as well.
Okay.
So anytime I can find a rare Jack Daniels blend, I'll jump on.
You got that Frank Sinatra bottle?
I got 3 of them. So yes. Yeah. So, but I just picked up, my wife found the single malt, American single malt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she picked that up for me whenever she was out of the country about a year ago.
Oh, wow.
And she picked that up and brought it back for me. And we cracked one of those open whenever everybody was together a couple of weeks ago. And, and it's something about that.
Yeah. Being have a drink with your adult children, and not look at them as children as much anymore.
Right.
I think there's so much with society now that parents want to be friends to their kids when they're kids.
Right. And you can't.
And it's
really
kids have friends. They need parents. So you have to kind of be the parent.
Right.
But when they get older, then you can be their friend. You can transition more to be a friend, especially when they become parents, because then you can laugh at the mistakes they're making that you made with them.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Or the times you're like, yep, I knew that was going to happen. That type of stuff. But it's a completely different type of relationship, and it's so cool. And especially when you become like a grandparent. Like I became an instant grandparent.
Oh yeah. Nice.
Because when Jacob moved and got married to Holly in England, Holly had a daughter, Vivi, by previous marriage. And so I became instant grandparent. So I became instant papa.
Right.
But it's so cool to see them interact with their kids.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yes, 100%. Yeah. I totally understand. It is something else. Mm-hmm. And, and you being a parent, sometimes you want to go, and you just got to try stopping.
Yep. And you can try and tell them, it's like, hey, you're gonna fall off that cliff if you don't. You need to turn. You need to slow down. And they don't want to listen or whatever. And then at some point, you're just like, well, that's kind of how I learned the lesson.
Right.
By driving off the cliff,
I never really understood when my parents, talking about me and my siblings, how, they're like, well, you're still my kid. Mm-hmm. I'm still, and I'm like, we're adults. We can take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
But I never really understood that until my kids became adults.
Yeah.
And now, they're still your kid. Mm-hmm. You're still going to do what you can for them. But like you said, sometimes you still got to let them learn their lessons continuously, and it just continuously happens. But yeah, I find joy hanging out with them. Probably the most fun that I have, the biggest joy is getting to cook for them.
Oh wow!
So I love to cook.
Yeah.
I have just started over probably Cindy. I don't know. She started working on a degree a few years ago, and the deal was she would come home and do schoolwork, and I would cook dinner, and then she would clean up. And that deal has continued. Because I love to cook, love to find new things. And whenever all the kids get to come in, and the grandkid get to come in and I get to cook for them, whether if it's just grilling hot dogs and hamburgers or doing a big smoking a butt, or doing whatever. Yeah. It's just great. And especially whenever they enjoy it.
Right.
And sometimes there's a fail. Right. And then they will tell me.
Right. Like, not your best.
Yeah, don't do that one again.
Not your best.
Yeah. So, but enjoy that and enjoy listening to my vinyl.
Yeah.
Whenever I get a chance, in my office, just let it play. I got rid of most of my collection. At one time, I had somewhere around 10,000 records, somewhere in that neighborhood.
It's probably one of the dangers of working in radio, too.
It was.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and I had probably that many M45s as well. And I got rid of just about all of them. I think now maybe I got a couple of hundred, maybe. And my youngest son, he's got the bug. So he does a little bit of collecting as well. And he took some of mine. I think he took most of my Beatles, I think.
Nice.
So, but yeah, so those are my things, just that. And I'm a workaholic, because I enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
And I guess that old saying of do something that you love, you never work a day in your life, and that's what it's about. Just trying to find joy in everything that you do. And it's taken me many years to get there because, like I said, I was working for another company whenever I started West Talent Group. I just recently took the official leap.
Yeah.
And I'm scared, it's, I'm in my 50s and here I am doing, something that I should have done years ago.
Yeah.
But I love it.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, exactly what it is about it, but it just, and like I said, I guess, making people smile.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing.
All right, Dakota, this is the second segment of the show where we dive a little bit more deeper into your mental health journey. I definitely believe everybody has a story to tell. Sometimes we fall into these dark places as we are writing the stories of our lives. But if we realize that everybody goes through that, it kind of makes that burden lighter and we don't feel like we're alone in it. So for you, how do you keep the darkness at bay?
It took me a while to figure it out. My dad passed in 2008 and had other family members or close to family members that passed away around that same time. And it seemed that everybody was dying in the month of September.
Oh, wow.
And so September became a month that I really dreaded.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
And it was probably 2012, somewhere in that neighborhood, that it came into August, and I just couldn't handle it anymore. So, and this is probably the most open I've ever been with anybody about it. It was a very hard time.
Yeah.
And I just, I went into a really dark place, for myself. And I tried to keep it hid from just about everybody.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I would be driving around at night, whatever, getting off work, whatever. And I would just, try to figure out how am I going to get myself out of this?
Yeah.
Because it's just me thinking of things and just, letting it just run around in my head.
Yeah.
And I've always considered myself religious, spiritual, if nothing else. And I ended up on YouTube just floating around, and I found this audiobook on YouTube by a guy named David Allen. And it's The Power of I Am.
Okay.
I know that there's a few versions out there. This is the one that I found, and it was written a while back. And I just started listening to it over and over and over. And it just gave me the strength to start trying to get control of my own thoughts.
Wow.
And to start, really digging deep into my own mind. And since then, I've taken up meditation.
Okay.
I still listen to motivational books, things to try, keep my head clear.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest thing that I've been working on probably since at least this year, maybe a little bit in the last year, is trying to be present in what's going on, right now. Yeah. Because I don't recall who said this, but, it's just all you really got is this moment, because the past and the future are nothing but your head. It's all in your head.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
Because it's true that most of the stuff that you worry about is not going to happen. It doesn't happen the way you think it's going to happen. And sometimes it just doesn't happen at all.
Yeah.
And there's a quote, and I'm not going to get it right, out of the Bible, basically saying that, why worry? It's not going to add any time to your life, and I really took that one to heart. And like I said, that is not the quote.
Right, right.
It's
paraphrasing.
I think it's Luke 12:25 or 25:12, something like that. But that one, it really, that helped me start controlling my mind, my head, and what I was thinking and things that were going on, is just being able to know that there's no reason to worry about anything.
Right.
It's going to work out the way it's supposed to work out, and most of the time it's going to work out really good.
Right.
So you just got to, play your role and, follow your instincts, and if to me, like I said, I do meditate, which is /prayer for me. And I try to listen to what my mind says, good things that my mind says.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, it's still every once in a while, the bad stuff creeps up every once in a while, because especially whenever you think something should have happened this way, or it should be going this way, and then you got to sit back, and at least I do. I sit back and go, who am I to say how things are supposed to be?
Right.
I can't control everyone. The only person I have somewhat control of is me.
Right.
And so I've got to that point where like I said, it's hard to explain, but I hope I've done okay on it. Yeah. I just try to, like I said, keep the bad thoughts at bay.
Yeah. No,
and really, look at them, because those bad ones, they can take you over.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think that's the fact that you recognize that they're bad thoughts. They always say, the first step in any recovery is recognizing that you have a problem.
Right.
Bad thoughts can be a problem, and recognizing that you're like, hey, these thoughts are not serving me. Because then you try to figure out a process to quit having those bad thoughts.
And most of it was just about career. I should have done this. I should be here, and I should be financially here, and stuff like that.
Right.
And that's what most of it is. And it's like I said, who am I, to really say,
Yeah.
If there is a higher being that has a lot to do with everything, then, who am I to question?
Right. Wow.
And that's where I'm really, trying to get myself, because, overall, I've had a really good life.
Yeah.
Since I hit 50, it's been a little rough.
Yeah.
So it's easy to get into depression, especially whenever you go through some kind of surgery type thing, because, I think you and I messaged back and forth. I was supposed to come see you a week ago.
Yeah.
And I ended up having one of my little, what do you call it? I don't know, just an issue.
Yeah.
And back in, it was, what year are we in? 24? So July 23, I ended up having 10 inches of my intestines removed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I ended up having a thing called diverticulitis. So, and we could not defeat it. I had it for like a year and a half, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And so they ended up removing it. But since then, that's gone.
Right.
So that worked. But now I have created a bunch of allergies.
Oh, wow.
Food allergies.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, and it's now I'm learning to eat again. What I can eat, what I can't eat.
Right.
And sometimes I accidentally eat something that I shouldn't have ate. And
then you have to deal with it.
And it usually takes 24 hours of me just dealing with cramps and things like that and just hurting.
Oh, wow.
And you're just, it's rough. It really is. And I've told my family this. I don't wish this upon anybody.
Right.
This is like one of the worst things I've ever been through in my life.
Wow.
But besides that, whenever I went through that surgery, I was in the hospital for a few days, but I was home for 5 months, something like that, just basically laid up.
Yeah. I mean, they removed 10 inches of your intestine. I don't imagine there's a whole lot you can do.
Well, they I was up and moving. It's just I started having side effects,
right?
And things like it. And they've been trying to figure out what that is. So I did a lot of time, and when you spend a lot of time alone, I didn't understand what people were talking about through the COVID thing. People that spent time alone and how the depression got to them. Yeah. Until I went through that. And because I was home most of the time alone. Wow. Because everybody else was working.
Right.
And it gets to you. Yeah. So, and I would just suggest to anybody out there that if you know somebody who has went through something where they have to be at home, isolated, whatever it may be, and they're not around people, check in on them.
Yeah.
Shoot them a text. Let them know you care. Give them a call. They may not answer and they may not reply. Yeah. Because there were times that I would get calls and I would send people to voicemail. Same thing for text messages. I had a few text messages and I would, tell my wife, here, you reply. Because I was already in that dark place in my head. And I just didn't want to, communicate with anybody. But there was just that thing in the back of my mind now of, thank you. Thanks for thinking of me.
Yeah.
So just if you know anybody going through that, definitely, keep them in mind, because being alone can be very, very crazy.
Yeah. And I'm a big proponent of what you're talking about there. Anytime I have somebody that just crosses my mind, I may not have talked to them in 20 years, but if I'm friends with them on Facebook or if I still have their phone number or whatever, I'll shoot them a text. Be like, hey, you crossed my mind. Just want you to know I was thinking about you. Hope everything's well. Boom. That's it. And send it off into the universe, because I feel like there's a reason that they crossed your mind, especially if it's somebody you hadn't thought of in that long. I'm a true believer that there is a reason that you were the one that thought of them, and they need to know that you're thinking of them.
Right. Yeah. It makes a huge difference. If for some reason you can't communicate with them, at least say a prayer for them, put them in your thoughts. Because you don't know what people are going through. Yeah. There's a lot of people that, may listen to this and go, wow, I didn't know that you went through that, years ago. And, because, death is rough too.
Yeah.
So, because it was right before the surgery, my mom passed and then my father-in-law passed and, and then you go into surgery where hey, there's a chance because we're putting you under,
right?
That you may not come back out.
Yeah.
It starts making you really think the whole mortality thing, and the one thing that we're all going to face is death.
Yeah.
100%, unless something really crazy happens.
Right.
We all got to do it, face it. And it just now that's one of the things, like one of the reasons I made the jump with West Talent is like, I'm not getting any younger.
Yeah.
And this is a dream of mine. I got to chase it.
Yep.
I may fall flat on my face, but at least I tried, and, we'll see what happens with it. I feel like things are going to go well with it, but you never know. And I just, like I said, I know I'm not getting younger, and I'm not getting any, I'm getting closer to being 6 foot under every day. And that will change your perspective so fast.
Yeah.
Because like I said, now I really try to enjoy, coming here to see you. I enjoyed the drive here. I got a convertible. I took the top down. Nice. I rode here, and it's just, if you got something that you got to do, whatever, just enjoy it, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whether it's cleaning the dishes, doing laundry, going for a walk, whatever, just try to enjoy it, because you may not get that moment again. You never know. And that's where I am. I try to make the best of everything. So, and I try not to be as much of a dick as I used to be. So, because I know I look back upon things that I did in my life, and there were many a times that I was an asshole. And I apologize to anybody that I was an asshole to. Yeah. Some of those people I actually communicated that with.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there are people out there with what we do. Sometimes you just see somebody, you talk to them, whatever, you don't realize how they took it.
Yep.
And I do apologize to all of those people, because, as you get, I guess it's one of those things, as you get older, you really start to realize a lot. And so I guess this is my moment of saying, I'm sorry. 100%. I'm sorry if I was an asshole to you ever, anybody out there. Didn't mean to. I'll even try to make it up to you if you let me know.
All right, Dakota, this is the third segment of the show. It's time now for the Fast Five. The Fast Five. It's time now for the Fast Five.
I better get the low side. I better get the low side.
Fast Five. Fast Five is powered by Poddex, app created by my friend Travis Brown. If you go to chewingthefatbr.com/Poddex, it'll take you to the link where you can download Poddex in your favorite app store. It's 5 random questions, no wrong answers. Just first thing that comes off the top of your head. You ready?
Okay.
All right, here we go. Question number 1. What is your most treasured memory?
Oh, wow. Most treasured memory.
Yeah. Well, it just popped in your head. And you think treasured memory. Something you hold dear.
Going to the river with mom and dad and all of mom's side of the family. Natchez Trace is where we'd go, North Alabama. And it was usually on Sunday afternoons. And I want to say one of my uncles had a boat, but we were never allowed to get on it because mom couldn't swim. Oh, so, and she would put us.
She'd take you out to the river, but
exactly.
She couldn't swim.
Well, we had to wear life jackets.
On the side of the river.
No, she'd let us get in.
Y'all could get in. She just didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, gotcha.
So in other words, if we fell off the boat, she ain't going to be there to save us.
Right.
So you on your own. So, and dad would just, sit around. I'm assuming he could swim. He was a Marine. So I'm assuming he could swim.
Seems like that
but he was just, doing his own thing. And, that was a wonderful time doing that. And, I remember all my aunts and uncles being there. It was a great time. It really was. And all the cousins, and you just, that was fun times. Yeah, I was probably 8, 9 years old.
That's awesome.
Something like that. So,
that's great.
Yeah.
That's a great
memory.
Wow.
That I hadn't thought of that in years.
That's a great memory though.
Wow. Wow. This app is
the magic of the Fast Five.
Wow.
Question number 2. Would you rather get lost in the woods at night, having to find your way out, or sleep in a cemetery with your best friend?
No, cemetery best friend, easy.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm not
worried about anything.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of anything in there. Yeah, I feel good about it.
Okay.
Maybe a crackhead, something like that. I deal with that. But the woods at night,
Maybe bears and coyotes.
I grew up in the country.
Yeah.
You can, if you step out on the porch at night, you could hear things out there. And no. No. So I'll be good. A cemetery any day.
Awesome. Question number 3. Do you like to plan things out in detail or be spontaneous?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit of both. I all right. So I started doing this going to Vegas. At one time, my youngest son lived in Vegas. So it was my excuse to go out there all the time. I love that city. Vegas is great. So first couple of times I went out there, I was like, I want to eat here, but couldn't get a reservation or anything like that. Couldn't get in, oh yeah, come back in 5 hours. Maybe you can get in. So I started using, what's Open Table? Yeah, Open Table to make reservations at every restaurant that I want to go to. For I'm saying I'd load up like a ton of them using that and another app, and I'd have them stacked. So the app would let me do it. That way, whenever I got to Vegas, I could cancel the reservations of the ones I decide I don't want to go to, and I can eat at the one that I want to go to.
Nice.
So it's sort of the same, it's sort of both.
Right. It's planned spontaneity.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because I've got a whole bunch of choices, and then we get spontaneous. Yeah.
I like it. Hey, question number 4. If someone made a movie about your life, who would play you?
Kevin James.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kevin James. You don't see it?
No, I mean, I can see it.
Look at the eyes. Look at the.
Yeah, no,
let me get rid of the beard.
Yeah. No, I can see it.
Let me shave the beard.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I think he would. For one thing, I've been told numerous times that I look a lot like him. And especially whenever I shave, and I actually try to look like him, I can pretty much nail it. So I figured he would, do good, and I like his.
He'd probably do a good job too.
Yeah,
actually.
I like his sense of humor and things like that. I think he would play the role pretty well.
Awesome.
I think so.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. And question number 5. Where's the weirdest place that you've gone to the bathroom?
Just number 1.
We'll go. We'll just we'll just say that. I mean, unless you had a really weird number 2, maybe. But like,
well, I did have intestinal surgery. So
this. Aisle 15 at the K Roger was not on my bingo card.
You're not going to find me on one of those cameras. Okay. I've seen those videos. No. Probably not being able to make it to a restaurant in a local restaurant, restroom, I should say, and having to use their parking lot.
Okay. Yeah. Do that kind of kneel down like you're checking the tire pressure and you just kind of.
Yeah. So, because there was no holding it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. To throw my 2 cents in, mine was in St. Patrick's Day in Savannah, and there was a line to the porta potties.
Right.
And it was a long line. And if you ever been to St. Patrick's Day in Savannah, it's a lot different now than it used to be.
Right.
I was back in the hedonist days of that, and the porta potty was up kind of up a hill, so it wasn't level.
Right.
And so it was already overflowing, like from the thing. But there was still a line for us to go and pretend that we cared about what was about to happen there. But I could not make it, so I had shorts on. I just grabbed an empty cup from the ground and just kind of in line. Just put the cup in my pants and just kind of peed in line, and then just kind of put the cup down on the side. Now the danger is that obviously this was a drinking event in Savannah, and I just made light yellow, foamy,
right.
hot body temperature beverage, and I just sat on the ground. But
So I got to share a story about Mexico. Why 1 of 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
Mackenzie and I, we did 2 morning show trips to Cancun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you recall those.
Yeah.
But we
Dr. Bob was always a big fan.
love Dr. Bob. Miss him. So I can't remember if it was our first or second trip, but either way, we are out doing the bar hopping tour.
Mm-hmm.
And someone, I honestly, I couldn't tell you who it is, but it was a guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he was there, I want to say, with his fiance. So on this trip. And he came out of the club, decided he needed to use the bathroom, couldn't get back in the club because of the line and everything else. So he went around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you know, excuse me, senor, they're tapping on his shoulder. They get him for indecency, whatever.
Indecent exposure.
Yeah. And so they got cuffs on him.
Oh my gosh.
And they're like about to take him to jail in Cancun. And they said, well, how much you have on you?
Oh, wow.
I've always been told that you can barter anything.
Yeah.
And we all, just luckily, a few of us noticed what was going on. But we all had to get out what money we had and give it to these police officers so they would let this guy go.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So, and I can't remember how much we ended up paying, but it was a lot.
Jeez.
But he didn't go to jail.
In Cancun. Yeah. He might still be there to this day had you not.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And you just, whenever you're traveling in another country, make sure you know the laws.
and make sure you know the extent of which you can hold your bladder as well. I would think. Good grief.
Exactly. Yeah, that reminded me of that.
All right, Dakota, that's our Fast Five, and that is the show. Thank you so much for being here, my friend.
Thank you, sir. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, this has been awesome. If folks want to keep up with you and West Talent Group and all the bands you got, what's the easiest way they can keep up with everything that's going on?
Pretty active on Facebook. It's Dakota West. Facebook.com/Dakota West. Let's see. Just started a new Instagram account.
Okay.
Like yesterday.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Just call me Grandpapa.
Just call me Grandpapa.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, because I originally, I had an Instagram years ago and I turned it into the West Talent Instagram page.
Okay.
So yeah, you can follow me on that one. WestTalentGroup.com, RetroConcertSeries.com. Some great shows being announced. So please keep up with it. You can sign up for emails on that. Also, there's a number on there that you can text and keep up with shows and get promo codes and all that fun stuff.
Very cool.
On the website. And then once again, the bands are Derek Dove and the Peacekeepers, a few miles south, Lloyd Carter, and Swamp Music.
Swamp Music. Awesome. Well, I'll make sure I put the links all in the show notes of the podcast. And of course, you can find out more about Dakota and all our previous guests on the guest page at chewinthefatbr.com. But man, I wish you nothing but success with everything that you're going on. I love you. And this was so cool to get together. And hopefully we can do it again soon.
Yes, sir. Love you, my friend. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And if you would like to support this podcast, I'd appreciate it if you bought me a coffee at chewinthefatbr.com. But until next time, I look forward to the chance we have to sit a spell and chew the fat.